Item 35, number 6201.
Chairman Craven, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill comes to us from Representative Dawson. And what it does is it's an initiative by the Attorney General in the fight against lead paint in properties in the state of Rhode Island. And the bill would allow for a property owner who fails to comply with lead hazard mitigation provisions to be subject to up to triple damages as well as attorney's fees for failing to do so. It's a good bill. I move passage.
Chairman Craven moves passes. I'm going to seconded by Leader Blazachewski, and we'll do the green button. We'll do the green button on seconds. All those who would like to second, please hit the green button. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 41 seconds. The bill's been moved and they're seconded. On the bill, there are no lights. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in favor, please vote green. Any in the negative, please vote red. Representative Sanchez, please vote. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 70 votes in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The act prevails. Next docketed item, please.
Item 36, number 6238, sub A.
Chairman Craven, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This comes to us from Representative Morales, and it relates to state affairs and government and lead hazard mitigation. This act would establish that a tenant may file a petition with the Rhode Island District Court to deposit rent in the district court escrow account for leased property that is not compliant with the lead hazard mitigation law. Rent in escrow would be released to the property owner upon compliance with the lead hazard migration law, and there will be a judicial process to determine whether there has been compliance while in front of the district court. It's a good bill. I move pass.
Chairman Craven moves passes, seconded by Leader Blazachewski. We'll go to the green button for the rest of the seconds, please. All those who would like to second, please hit the green button. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 43 seconds. The bill's been moved and seconded. There are no lights. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in favor of the bill, please vote green. Any in the negative, please vote red. All members, please vote. Representative Diaz, please vote. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 66 votes in the affirmative, 5 in the negative. The act prevails. Next docketed item.
Item 37, number 6239, sub A.
Thank you. Chairman Craven, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This act comes to us from Deputy Whip Ackerman, and this relates to Property Residential Landlord Tenant Act. This act would require landlords to register certain identifying information on a statewide registry for pre-1978 properties, provide a valid certificate of conformance with Lead Hazard Mitigation Act, and for landlords who do not comply, this act would establish civil penalties and prevent the landlord from suing a tenant for non-payment of rent. It's a good bill. I move passage.
Chairman Craven moves passage, seconded by Leader Blazachewski and Deputy Whip Ackerman. Chairman McNamara, Representative Kislak, Representative Cruz, Representative Stewart, all seconding the bill. On the bill, please. Representative Carson, please, on the bill.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. I just wanted to comment on this bill. I don't necessarily disagree with it, but when I read it, I had some concerns about it. And my concerns also may apply to the bill we just voted on. And I've actually, what I'm going to say now, I've actually said before. And that is that we often pass bills and the people that are affected by it don't know that they have to do something. So say you have like a really good landlord that cuts the lawn and shovels the snow and calls the plumber when the sink leaks, and all of a sudden, they didn't know they had to register, right? So all of a sudden, they get slammed with some penalties because they weren't told. And so that concerns me, because we have constituents that are doing their work and they're you know, effective and they're treating their tenants properly. They just didn't know that they had to do this. We've passed other bills that look like this. I've commented on this before. I mean, there could have been ways that we could have maybe honed in on that. For example, we could be looking a little bit more closely at the seller disclosure, where realtors often advise sellers not to check off that they have lead. They advise you to check off that you don't know that you have lead. So you buy a house, you're told that you don't know there's lead, and then you get slammed by this thing. We could be doing something with realtors who rent out units and making sure that they're telling landlords that they need to register. We could do something on Zillow, where there's a lot of rental activity, telling landlords that they have to register. So I guess what I'm asking is that as we go forward, myself including, starting with me, I would think that we need to really take a look at making sure that we're not penalizing good folks because they just didn't know that there was a law that they had to abide by. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Sanchez, please, on the bill.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to say thank you, Representative Ackerman, for introducing this bill, because there have been several instances where constituents have filed complaints against landlords, and those landlords, I'm not saying they're bad people, good people, there's good landlords, of course, but a lot of times they don't take the responsibility nor the time to do the proper certification of this lead work. And so, for example, I have a couple, they just moved to Providence. They're two professors in college, they're about to have a baby. They've been complaining for several months now around the lead issues in their home. And the landlord has refused to take the proper steps in order for them to take care of this issue. So just want to say thank you for introducing this bill, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Deputy Whip Ackerman, please, on the bill.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to address some of Representative Carson's concerns. It has come to my attention that the Attorney General's office is going to do a massive outreach program. And in the bill, it does say that the landlords have a year-and-a-half notice. So that's plenty of time, a year-and-a-half, for them to know that this has become a law. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chairman Bennett, please, on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A question for the chairperson.
Please proceed. They will yield.
Thank you. Chairman, it says certain identifying information. Would that be name and address?
Yes.
Well, now, what happens if you got a landlord that's evicted somebody, they're angry with them, and you're going to put their name and address where they live? There could be retaliation in there.
Well, that's possible, obviously, anytime but one would presume that if you're a tenant, you would retaliate against the landlord. You'd probably do it anyways because you would know where the check is sent, and you already know where he lives or she lives to begin with.
Good answer.
It could be a P.O. box, too, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Chairman Solomon, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question for the chairman?
Yes. He will yield.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did establish this with the Attorney General's office, but I just wanted to kind of put it on the record.
Yep.
Specifically on page 1, line 17, it says information necessary to identify each dwelling unit. I just want to make sure that that doesn't require information of the tenant.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. That's the legislative intent. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Constantino, please, on the bill.
Thank you. Question, Chairman?
Yes.
So, being one of the biggest property owners in this room, according to the Journal, I have a couple of questions.
Is that congratulations or I feel bad?
Not at all. Not at all. But I'm in the process right now. I have a piece of Providence,
yep.
A house in Providence, a piece of property.
Yep.
And we're doing, basically, I am removing every piece of lead that's on this piece of property. Pre-1978, the house is probably 100 years old. I'm probably into it right now for about $40,000. I'm not finished. New windows, taking all the siding off, and we're going to replace everything. So the question I have is, what about the lead lines that are going into these homes? Is there a program or is there something in place regarding these lines that are going into these properties, potentially being a hazard for the
lines
children?
Being water lines?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, there are. There are programs that take care of that and would relieve you of we'd provide you assistance financially and otherwise in order to be able to do that. Because remember, from the street to the house is you, but after that, the lead paint still exists, and last I knew, if it's 15 feet away in the street, it's still going to come inside your house.
Exactly.
If it's water.
So that's my question, is the city on the line, you know, after, in order to replace these lead lines, is the city?
Well,
is it a requirement for the city to come in and change? My understanding is if I change my side, then they would come in and change their side.
Yes, that's true. But what I want most importantly is, on the city side, it doesn't violate this law. So we're looking to adopt a new law with penalties. If that was the case and the city didn't handle its end, it's not your fault.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Sanchez for the second time on the bill, please.
Yes, Representative, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to answer Representative Constantino's question, just because I know we've interacted a few times on Providence. So as of right now, Providence Water has a few programs for specific areas across the city. I know that the Upper South Side has a program to remove the lead pipes, replace them. But in the West End, there is no program yet. But on Federal Hill, I think that's also next. And West End is next. Just to answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. With that, there are no other lights. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in the affirmative, please vote green. Any in the negative, please vote red. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 59 votes in the affirmative, 11 in the negative. The act prevails. Next docketed item, please.
Item 38, number 5946, sub A.
Chairwoman Fogarty, please.
Thank you, Speaker. This bill comes to us by Representative Voss. The bill is really closing the loophole in the current lead mitigation for property owners implemented for the lead hazard mitigation from pre-1978 rental dwellings that are comprised of 2 or 3 units, one of which is occupied by the property owner. The sub A simply just moves the effective date to January 1st, 2024 versus upon passage. Thank you, Speaker. I move passage.
Chairwoman Fogarty moves passage, seconded by Leader Blazajewski. And let's do the green button, please. The green button on the seconds. Beside all those who'd like to second, please hit the green button. There are, clerk, please lock the machine. There are 44 seconds. The bill's been moved and seconded. On the bill, Representative Newberry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Kind of like a President Biden press conference, I have a scripted question for the Vice Chair of Finance, if he would yield.
I am sure he will yield.
He might have a scripted answer to this question, too, but I know it's important in all seriousness. When I looked at this bill, I was in committee. Obviously, lead paint's a problem. I assume, and maybe Speaker Pro Tem Kennedy was here at the time, could tell us that when this bill was originally, the act was originally passed, this exemption was in here because it's a lot of money, particularly for a homeowner, to retrofit their house, as we just heard. And I had a friend of mine reach out to me today when the Senate passed this bill, I guess 2 days ago, yesterday. She was saying, she lives in South Providence, she owns either a 2-story or probably a triple-decker. And she was saying she just got a quote recently just to do the windows outside was $5,000. And she's very concerned, she lives there. And I would assume that most people who live in their properties have already taken care of this, and maybe we're talking about a small subset, but we're not talking about the institutional slumlords we all hear about. So my question is there anything in the budget, which we're hearing tomorrow, that will help people who may not be able to afford to do this?
Yes, thank you very much for that, and I know the chairman alluded to it as well. There are numerous programs all around, but specifically in the budget, Rhode Island Housing has about $4.7 million restricted receipts explicitly for this use. The program actually I have in front of me, the program is Rhode Island Housing's Lead Safe Homes program, so you can refer your friend to that.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Speaker, with that, I can vote for the bill with that. And it's something Rep. Carson said earlier. I agree with everything you said about notifying people, because a lot of people either not going to know about this and then they're going to get cited, or they're going to know about this, like my friend, and panic because of the cost. And we need to make sure that this can be done affordably without, people getting kicked out of their homes and not being able to afford to pay for it.
Thank you, Representative. All very good points. And with that, there are no lights. Clerk, please unlock the machine. All those in favor, please vote green. Any in the negative, please vote red. All members, please vote. Clerk, please lock the machine. There are 64 votes in the affirmative, 6 in the negative. The act prevails.